Deputy Clare Daly, question number 9.
Thanks, Concorla. Minister, in the lifetime of this government, although not under your watch, taxpayers' money of just short of €3 million was spent on security contracts with the Israeli company Elbit Systems, who have been found guilty of violating international law. Question seeks, really, now that you are a Minister for Defence, could you give us an assurance that the public procurement policy of the Defence Forces will include a ban on any dealings with companies found in violation of international law?
Thank you. Minister.
Deputy, I previously outlined the position with regard to procurement of defensive equipment by the Department of Defence. I've also explained the scale and type of such equipment that the Department has acquired from Israeli companies in recent years, and the purpose of such acquisitions, which is to afford the greatest possible force protection to Irish troops. The matter of barring Israeli companies from entering tender competitions for the provision of military goods would be akin to Ireland unilaterally placing an embargo on such goods from Israel, and this raises serious implications for foreign policy, which, to be honest, are outside the remit of my department. As the Deputy is aware, trade policy and market access are largely EU competencies, and any restriction or ban on imports from any particular country would have to be a concerted effort at an EU level. The manner in which the Department of Defence procures both goods and services remains consistent with international best practice and is in line with EU and UN decisions on trade embargoes. I am satisfied that this is the appropriate way in which to continue, rather than Ireland taking a unilateral decision to target individual companies or countries in that respect.
Deputy Daly.
You did outline previously, Minister, what was bought, what it was used for, and under what procurement policies that they were made, but that wasn't really the issue that you were asked to deal with. I'm aware of all of those things. The issue being posed here really is that when companies engage in unlawful practice and we do business with them, then we're facilitating that. And while procurement policies might be out there, it is also the case that many of your international peers, recognising this injustice, have taken positive action to ensure that they don't do dealings with companies who violate international law, as many of these companies, all of them operating in the settlements, do. I'm thinking, for example, of the British government, who have an overseas business risk policy which outlines and tries to encourage people not to deal with the settlements. The Dutch government have been actively involved in providing advice to companies into not dealing with the settlements. The Norwegian Ministry for Finance prevented pension funds money going into this system for the same reason. You can take proactive involvement. It's not a unilateral act. You had no problem in signing us up to sanctions against Russia, which affected Irish farmers, but you don't seem to have any difficulty in standing by while women and children are massacred in Gaza. We can take positive action in these matters.
Minister.
Sorry, Deputy, are you suggesting that we shouldn't have taken the foreign policy decisions in relation to Russia that were taken?
No, I'm just saying you were talking about unilateral actions and you had a problem with
and we haven't taken a unilateral action in relation to Russia. We've taken we're part of an EU decision in relation to sanctions because of what's been happening in eastern Ukraine. So it's not unilateral action. And none of the examples that you've just outlined in Britain, in Norway and in the Netherlands involve an embargo being imposed by a government on individual companies or Israel as a country. They are examples of countries trying to use pressure points, if you like, to get change. And Ireland also makes and has made strong statements on much of what has happened in Israel and Gaza in recent months. So, and we will continue to do so because we have a strong government position on those issues. But what you're asking me to do here is effectively blacklist a company or companies because of a policy position or view on those companies. And what I'm saying is that Ireland generally makes decisions as part of a collective within the EU or the UN in relation to sanctions or embargoes, on the basis of a recommendation coming at a unilateral level, at a multilateral level rather than a unilateral level.
Deputy Daly.
I think the point I was making, Minister, is that you support an embargo in relation to Russia, but you are not in any way advocating a similar action to be taken against Israel. Now, the question didn't relate to all Israeli companies. They related specifically to those that violated international law and those that are involved in illegal Israeli settlements, which is a slightly different thing, if you like. And the Norwegian government did take direct action. And I'm not asking you to deal with public procurement policy. That isn't your ministerial brief. But you do and are responsible for how the Defence Forces spend taxpayers' money. And I'm asking you, are you prepared to stand over a situation where taxpayers' money on Defence Forces machinery is being given to companies that are involved in violating international law? Because that is the case with Elbit System. It's not up for any dispute whatsoever.
Please don't be mentioning names here.
Well,
this is not a court of law.
It isn't, and I'm not radically quoting anything
Your question
unfounded.
didn't nominate any company. You said details supplied for a reason, because you know that we don't do it here.
Well,
Minister, thank you. No, sorry.
Which is a public document. And
Well, this is the Parliament. Thank you.
Look, the point I'm making is that the Department of Defence procedures in terms of procuring goods and services is absolutely consistent with international best practice at a UN and at an EU level. And that is a decision we've made. If there's a collective proposal at a UN level to take targeted action and to use trade as a way of forcing change in some part of the world or in a region, well, then Ireland will be part of that discussion. But I am not in a position to make foreign policy decisions in relation to individual companies, certainly on the back of an individual Dáil question like this. That's the position.